we're live. So send me podcast, man. I appreciate you coming. For those of you that don't know, we got Gilbert here. If you want, man, I'm just gonna let you dive in and kind of tell me like what was home life like, you know, when you were a kid, when you were younger. Did you have dreams? Did you want to be a astronaut? You know what I mean? What was the deal then?
So, I grew up in the Bay Area when I was younger,
Okay.
and then my mom had me at 17, young, and I guess her mom and dad felt that she wasn't, capable of raising me.
Okay.
So they actually moved her in with me and then kicked her out, and they held on to me, which is my grandma and my papa, right?
Okay.
And so the deal they made with my mom was graduate high school and come back and show that you could take care of me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she did. And what happens was she, was bouncing around guy to guy, doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then we settled in Stockton. And I
Okay.
was probably about 7 or 8. And then so when we came to Stockton, it was just
What part of the Bay Area were you living in?
Hayward.
Hayward area? Okay.
Hayward, the cherry land.
Okay.
And so when I was able to jump off the porch, I was, 9, 10 years old. All my friends were from a background that I wasn't really from. The like gangs and stuff wasn't real big in my family.
Yeah.
Right? I come from a big family, big Puerto Rican family that loves each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it was different for me. Most of my peers and people I was growing up with were searching for something that they didn't have at home.
Yeah.
But I had that. Like
Yeah.
I had that
Yeah.
love at my house.
Got it.
And so it was for me. It was just different. I was always different, and I felt like I had to do more to show that I really did belong because I really didn't, you know. And so I started running away from home about 11, running away.
You went to school in Hayward also?
I went to Cherryland.
You went to Cherry? Okay.
And then when I moved to Stockton,
How was that like? Were you like one of the cool kids? Were you bullied? How do you remember any of that?
I don't even really remember.
Okay.
I remember my classmate came up missing, Michaela Garrett,
Oh wow.
from
Yeah, I
the Rainbow
remember that.
Market.
Yeah.
And then like I was there at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really remember. I remember my big cousins. I remember like because it was all family, right? My family would every year have a big, huge get together, like a family reunion.
Yeah.
And I remember my uncles and my cousins and everyone, and I was always the youngest, so I wasn't really like
Yeah.
a part of. But I remember my cousins used to come with their girls,
Yeah.
and they would have their, you know what I mean, and that was like the coolest shit ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my uncle, because my uncle's not much.
What were they doing at the time? Were they like working, or were they in school still, or what was?
I'm not sure. I think they were in school.
Oh, okay.
I'm really like I don't know.
Yeah.
My family owned a wrecking yard in Menlo Park.
Okay.
And like that's where I would spend all my weekends with my papa. Right? He was always and my uncle Phil. He was always building. So he was building like a Volkswagen for like my whole life.
Yeah.
Right from nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so my papa and my grandma ended up moving to that wrecking yard.
Yeah.
And they took my Rottweiler. So every free chance I got, that's where I was at, the wrecking yard. My uncle, one of my uncles, I remember he would take me through all the cars.
Yeah.
And we would look for the Mercedes or the Cadillac
The emblems.
to break them off. You know what I mean?
I remember that. Yeah.
And
People
that was,
used to wear those as necklaces, man,
Yeah.
back in the day.
but like so that's how my background was.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
background was all family and like we all were with each other. We all loved each other and so and it's weird because in my mind when I hit the streets, I created this narrative inside my mind that I'm an outcast. I'm a black sheep. You know what I mean? When really I created that so much I became that. You know what I mean?
So you never really were treated like that by your family, but you created it inside you so deep that it made you.
I manifested it.
Yeah, you believed it. Got it. Okay.
I manifested it. My two cousins that I looked up to, they became cops.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I went to prison. It's just crazy And so like I had this mentality now my big cousins are cops, and my family's all like proud of them and what they're doing,
Yeah.
and here I am running the streets a gangbanger, right?
Yeah.
And I have another cousin too that went the same route as me, um and I guess he's still living that life,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it's really only me and him
Yeah.
are like that though, and they're still accepted by my family though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in my mind, my uncle don't want me around, my grandma don't want to deal with me. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff. And so when I was 15, well, when I was 12, I went to juvenile hall for the first time.
Okay. How'd you end up there?
We were breaking into businesses, and then like back then they had the little safety box.
Yeah.
So like one of my homies would be like, "I'm gonna use the bathroom," and he'd go, and then he'd come back and be like, "Can you show me where it's at?" And then so they'd take him back there, and I'd grab the box.
Oh, wow.
Go.
Okay.
So I went to juvenile hall for that, and then
So it was like a petty theft, or was it like grand theft, or what were they?
well, for a 12-year-old,
Yeah.
it was, and this is a different time, right?
Yeah.
This is where they would lock you up.
Yeah.
So I did when I was 12 to 13. I did a whole year in juvenile hall for that.
Where was this at?
This is in Stockton.
Stockton. Okay.
And so when
what juvenile hall is that in Stockton? Peterson. Okay.
And so on Matthews Road, it's a French camp.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
But while I was doing that year, I met all these kids that came from these broken families, these broken homes, and were like representing the side of town they were from, and I fell in love with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where the beginning stages of that manifestation came in.
So you felt like the narrative that you created for yourself matched up with these kids that were having that same kind of idea, and you were like, "Oh, this is where I belong."
Right.
Okay. Okay.
My dad's an old homeboy from Hayward. He's the first generation A Street.
Okay.
And so
he was like clicked up, ganged up.
Oh, sure.
Oh, okay.
But I never seen him.
Okay.
Right. That's the problem. I'd never seen him. But when I did see him, I glamorized the Hush Puppies and the Frisco Benzes and the Pendletons and the Brochas and how those men loved each other, right?
Yeah.
Those men were willing to die for each other every day.
Yeah.
And so like I idolize that.
It's like it's nothing different from kids nowadays watching mafia movies, right?
Right.
They look at that and go, "Man, that guy, Al Capone is badass," and it's kind of the same thing, but you're seeing it in real life. Yeah. So it makes it.
I distinctly remember the day my uncle Benny Indio Santiago came home from prison, and my dad picked him up and took him to the halfway house, 7 Step or whatever it is in Hayward.
Yeah.
And when we dropped, was it Walden House? One of those Cronin, one of those.
Cronin House. Yeah, I remember that.
So when we took him there, right? I remember we got out the car, and I was probably about 12, and I remember getting his stuff out the bag, and then he kissed me on the cheek, and I was like, "What are you doing?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, "You'll know, little G, you'll know." And then so later on, my dad was telling me like, when Indio kiss you on the cheek, he's letting you know that he will die for you. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah.
So those are my early years. Those are the things that resonated with me. So I held on to those things, right? When in reality, like my examples was like my papa, right? He was a mechanic. He would work on anything. He worked his ass off, everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He worked himself to death, basically.
Yeah.
But that wasn't attractive to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, who is that attractive to, right? You want the fast way. Now you do, because you're older, you're more mature, you see things differently. But even for a kid, me as a kid, that wasn't attractive to me. It was attractive to have everything fast, right? You wanted everything fast. You didn't want to work hard for it in your head. You were like, I want this. So I get it.
Yeah. And so that year that I spent in juvenile hall, I met a group of boys that were from around my neighborhood, right? And so I just created this fake narrative to them, right? Because it's true, I didn't have a dad.
Yeah.
My home was broken, but my mom loved the shit out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My grandmother, my papa, my uncles, all my cousins, all my uncle, all my aunties, they all loved the hell out of me. You know what I mean?
So I'm going to ask you a question. So this is obviously a big thing. It's a very controversial, right? People say a lot of the problems with the youth today that are in and out of the system or getting arrested doing this is because the absent father. Did you feel like that had a lot to do with why you were acting up or acting out?
Well, yeah. So looking back on it, I know for a fact uh, young men reach a certain age, your mom can't control you no more.
Yeah.
All the yelling and hollering is nothing. You know,
And you
what I
feel
mean?
like I'm a man now,
Yeah.
right?
What are you gonna
Yeah,
do?
yeah,
As a matter of fact, I am the man in this house. So like, what are you gonna do? And so when I got to that age, about 13, 14,
mm-hmm.
where come on, you should try to hit us, and there was nothing.
Yeah,
But when I got to the, my uncle Tiger told me one time, the day you think you're bad enough, step up, and I'm gonna show you.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well, when I reached that stage,
yeah,
he kicked me out.
yeah,
You know what I mean? He slapped the shit out of me and kicked me out.
yeah,
And he was like, I'm not going for no disrespect. You're not gonna be disrespecting your mom in her own house.
yeah,
So I told you the day you thought you was bad enough to step up, and you stepped up.
yeah,
Now you got to go.
yeah.
And so I hit the streets, and because my mom kind of raised my uncle when my papa died.
I'm sure that broke mom, right?
Oh.
She's like, oh, that's my baby. He's leaving. Even though you were acting out, I'm sure she wanted you there.
Dude, I used to sneak home because I have a baby sister,
Uh-huh.
and at this time she's probably about third, fourth grade.
Yeah.
I used to sneak home, and she would make me sandwiches and give me my clothes and stuff. And I would see my mom on the floor, balled up on the floor,
Yeah.
like with ulcers because she's so sick that I was
out. Yeah.
But my uncle wouldn't let me back. And when I did come home, I had the red rag, the red Nebraska hats, and the red Cortez.
Yeah, he knew it was up.
And he's like, "Nah, you're not coming here like that."
Yeah.
And so, to this day, my uncle gives me that tough love.
Yeah.
To this day, I get that.
Yeah.
When I'm running the streets and I need help, he's like, "Get clean. I got nothing for you."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But,
so do you appreciate that, or do you look at it as like, oh, man, it's I did my time, like open up, or do you feel like I need this sometimes?
I appreciate it now. On November 11th, I celebrated 3 years last year.
Nice.
I celebrated 3 years, and like he cried.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And because he was really the only father because my papa died, I was 9 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so when that was the only father figure, only male figure I had in my household was my uncle.
Yeah.
And he's not much older than me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when my papa died, he took that really tough.
Yeah.
And so he went off in his own. He went to prison and did all that too. You know what I mean? And so, looking back on it now, like I appreciate the hell out of it because my papa's not here for me to make proud, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to get emotional.
No, I hear you, hey, man.
My papa's not here for me to make proud, but my uncle is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like all I got.
Making me emotional, man. I hear you, man, and I know you mentioned before too. Your papa. When you say your papa, you're talking about your grandfather, right?
Yeah.
Your mom's dad. Okay.
Gilbert.
Yeah. Okay. Gilbert also. So when you talk about him, I remember you telling me he was a military guy. He was a hard worker, and I think you told me that he ended up he was a diabetic, right?
Yeah.
And that's ultimately how he passed, right?
Because he was so stubborn,
Mm-hmm.
right? He lost his leg.
Yeah.
They put him in a home, and he was like refusing the home.
So I'm gonna ask you a hard question. Were you around when he passed?
Absolutely.
You were. Okay. So
Yeah.
you were able to be there when he
I was
passed?
there. I have his flag.
Okay.
I have the flag that he had a military burial,
Yeah.
and they gave my grandma a flag. My grandma gave it to my uncle Tiger. My uncle Tiger gave it to me.
Yeah.
I have it to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Every December 31st is just hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so one of the main reasons like I sit right here is my grandma when I got out of prison, my grandma was like, your papa's rolling over in his fucking grave right now.
She was just
What are you
hard
doing?
truth, right?
Yeah.
I mean, she had at that point. What is she going to do, right? How long did you do in prison?
19 years, 8 months, 23 days.
There's nothing else she has to say to you, right? At that point, it's like, I'm going to tell him exactly what I want to say in like a short sentence.
There's no
and he's got to
sugarcoat.
get it or he's got to not get it. You know what I mean? Because
Sure.
you don't have no more time to waste, basically. So she hit you with that. And what did that do?
So that was November 5th, 2020. My grandma told me that. And November 11th, 2020, I went into detox. And I haven't touched alcohol. I haven't touched any marijuana, nothing.
Wow.
I don't touch nothing.
Shit. Good job, man. That's awesome. That's awesome. So that's a great story, man, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here is to talk about how, you know, everything started, and obviously we're gonna jump into the whole prison thing and the and YA and whatever it is, everything that you had, all those stories that you have to tell. But I just wanted to let people know that where you're at now, you're not in that position anymore. You're doing well. You're doing good for yourself, your family. You got kids, or a daughter now, and this is clean and sober for 3. You said
Yeah, over
three.
3 now.
You know what I mean? This is a redemption story, basically, right? So now I want to talk about how everything went for you in life, how it led to you coming here to this day. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what got you into? I know what got you into juvenile hall. After juvenile hall, did you go to CYA?
Yeah.
Okay, so what got you into CYA?
So, um, when I was running around the streets and I was trying to be this big Southside Stockton Triple S gang member, we were at war with other sides of town,
Okay,
and I had a close friend of mine, Dominica, and she had just got killed, and they were saying it was these dudes from the other side of town.
okay,
So I ran it back, and I was on the bus downtown Stockton on the bus, shot one in his face, shot the other one in his back. The one who got shot in the back lived, and the one who got shot in the face told
okay.
about
So we're gonna run it back. How did you get a gun at that age? How old were you?
I was 15.
15.
I
How
just
did
turned
you get a
15.
gun at 15?
So we had a rule in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
When you do something on site, you can't use your hands.
Okay.
And so don't say you're from the neighborhood if you're not willing to kill for you, you know?
Yeah.
And so my neighborhood is real structured through generations. And it
Can
was
you
always,
talk about what neighborhood that was? Or
yeah,
yeah,
Southside Stock.
Southside Stock. Okay.
Southside
What
Stockton.
area though?
So like we grew up on like 8th and Monroe,
Mm-hmm.
Conway area,
Okay.
but it's big, out to McKinley Park, down Charterway,
Okay.
10th Street, Commerce.
Got it. Okay.
And so that was the thing, right? Your big homie, like I have a nickname, and I took my big homie's nickname
Yeah.
when he vouched for me to come in,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave me a 380.
Okay. So you got it from somebody that was already deep in there. Okay. And what was the nickname?
G Nutty.
G Nutty. And that was his nickname as well? So when you do that with somebody and you take their name, is that like an ultimate sign of respect for somebody to give that to you?
Yeah, like there's another one under me too.
Okay.
And then he died, so I don't know if he passed it on. I got out before I could pass it on to someone.
Got it. Okay. So the reason why I asked that is because it's weird how you're talking about two different worlds, right? We're talking about you're talking about the gang life. I'm talking about I went a different way. I'm a police officer, and when we're police officers, so my brother's also a police officer, and when he became a cop, one of his good friends gave him his badge number. You know what I mean? And if you look at it that way, it's almost the same exact thing, two different worlds, right? It's crazy when you think about that, how things like it's almost like a mirror life, but like opposite, right? It's crazy. So, okay, so you get a 380, and what happens? You just like, okay, I know I'm gonna get revenge, or what was the deal?
Well, so one thing we used to always do was fuck their bitches, right? That's like that was like the big thing, and they would do it to us, right?
Yeah.
And so one of the females was like, "Hey, this dude catches the bus in downtown every day at 1:00. He switches buses."
Some girl that
was from
with
his neighborhood.
Oh.
That I was messing with.
Okay.
So she basically gave up his little routine every day. And so when I came up in Stockton, that early 90s, 92 to 96, that specific years was dangerous.
Yeah.
And so with the gangs. And so what they tried to do was they shut down school districts, and they used to bust people all over. So the Edison High School on the south side wasn't just ran by all south side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They broke it up, and they sent some of us to Stag, and some of us, which is north, and some of us out east, and so they bust them in from everywhere.
Yeah.
And so what what the mistake was, the buses all met downtown.
Yeah.
Where you have to switch buses to go home.
Yeah.
And so she told me what bus he gets on to go home.
You remember what bus it was?
82.
82. Man, look at that.
Yeah.
Something you'd never forget.
No.
Right? Yeah.
I remember
changed your life.
I remember the safety windows,
Mm-hmm.
because the bus driver locked the doors.
Yeah.
And I remember there was these black dudes, right? These Crips. They were like, go through the window. You could pop the window out.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember because there's a camera.
Yeah.
And I remember like the bus driver locked the door and I couldn't get out, and they popped the window for me so I could jump out.
Shit. So they helped you.
Yeah.
Wow. And now, okay, so South Side, you were what?
I was a northerner.
Northerner.
Yeah.
Okay, so Northerner and these Crips helping you out, is that normal?
I mean, kinda. Yeah. It was just a thing. They seen that I did something, mm-hmm. and then I was locked in, and they knew a way out, and so they just
got it. Okay.
I didn't know them.
So none of this was recorded. None of this was on camera,
yeah.
or it was
on bus camera.
Bus camera. Okay. So I didn't know back then if they if everything was still,
like little
I know it's all recorded now. Everything, you can't even breathe on there without being captured. But yeah, so it's all on camera. They see you go in. Was it you got on the bus, boom, boom, and you tried to get out, or were you on the bus waiting? Like I know this is
waiting.
Okay.
The bus actually took off and then turned, and my two Codys that were with me, I remember they were like, damn, we missed him. We mm-hmm. missed him. I remember telling myself like, good, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then next thing you know, it stops, and him and his boy got on. And my boy Casper was like, that's him.
So when you say Cody, I just want people to understand. Co-defendant.
My co-defendant.
Okay. So that means that they were involved in this with you, right? Okay. Now, one thing that you just said to me right now that it's crazy when you think about it is that you were like, good. You didn't want to do this. You really didn't want to do it, no. But you knew you were going to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So explain that. How does that feel? You think that it's not going to happen, and then you see them get on the bus. What are you thinking then?
I was like, so when the first one got on, I remember he got on, he put his ticket in, and he turned. Mm-hmm. Right? He turned. And I remember him seeing us.
Yeah.
But our neighborhoods were at war, so he wasn't going to get back off, and I knew it.
Yeah.
So he let his boy know, and they both came on, and they started talking loud and East Side this, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember my other Cody was telling him like, just be quiet. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And the bus driver closed the thing, and right when he took off, I stood up and shoot him. His boy turned around and tried to get off the bus, and I shot him.
So one died.
Yeah.
The other one lived.
Yeah, he has a half a face. I actually seen him at Food for Less when I first got out.
Man. So the one that got shot in the back died.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the one that got shot in the face is
just got one eye. And
wow, it's crazy, man. So, like I said, two different worlds, right? I'm a police officer. I never had to shoot anybody, right? And I think if I go my whole career without having to fire my gun at another person, that's a successful career to me, right? What is it? What's going through your brain?
But that's still the same feeling, right?
Yeah.
You'll do it.
I'll do it if I have to, of course, to save myself and save my coworkers and save, innocent civilians. If I have to do it, I'm going to do it. Absolutely. But we don't want to, right? That's last resort. So this comes to you and you're like, man, that now they're on the bus. I know that I committed to this. I have to do it now. Right. And what was that feeling when you pulled that trigger?
It was kind of hollow. It wasn't how I expected, like in the movies, where
mm-hmm.
like a big old grand scene, like,
mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? It was a lot of like yelling, a lot of chaos, the people on the bus, like a lot of rumbling. And then
there was a lot of people on the bus.
Yes. 2:00 in the afternoon.
Wow.
Downtown changing buses for school getting out.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, so later on, when I, after I go to YA, I think about it, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Every time I went to board and they read out my discovery,
yeah,
and I'm like, wow, that's crazy. No wonder they're not letting me out. That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And how old were you when you pulled that trigger?
15.
Man, that's crazy. So that happens. The scene from there, you're trying to get out of the bus, right? Mm-hmm. People help you out. They tell you to jump out the window. You jump out the window. Where do you run? Who do you go to hide?
So this girl that I was messing with, just so I can go there and change my clothes. We all went. My Cody's went. We all went different ways.
Yeah.
I went to the girl, changed my clothes, and I went home. Right. So it was like I was home all day, and I don't know if I want to tell you on air what happened, but I can tell you can edit it maybe.
Well, no, I mean, if you, I don't want you to tell me anything that you think is gonna,
it's not incriminating,
cause problems for anybody or anything like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
it's not like incriminating, and it's just somebody really close to me gave the police the gun.
Okay.
And told them where I was at.
Okay.
When I got arrested, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And you would never expect it would come from that person.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Family member?
Oh yeah.
Family. Okay.
And so as I matured, and
how did they? I'm going to rewind you, not to cut you off, but how did they know you were the one that did it? So where did you know what I mean? Like where did they get?
So this family member was cleaning my room.
Okay.
And they found a gun.
Okay.
So they turned the gun in, and it was the gun used at a shooting 2 weeks earlier. And then so that person told the police, like, hey, he comes home from school at 1:30. When I came home from school, my little sister was in the front yard, and she was like, Gilbert, the police are here. And then they were actually waiting inside my house for me. And I took off.
Oh, you took off running.
They let the dog out and all. I mean,
wow. Okay. So they caught you then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you get bit?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So the park that I was at has tennis courts. So I climbed up that big old 10-foot fence and got stuck on the top.
Oh wow. Okay. So they just waited for you to come down and then okay. So at that time you're hooked up, right? And then transported over straight to juvie or CYA or where did you go?
I went straight to juvenile hall.
Okay.
Back then they were just beginning to charge 16 and under with being an adult at this time. And so you would take a test for the DA, and I guess they end up taking that out later.
Yeah.
But the DA would give you a test and you would fill it out. Then they would evaluate it and say, no, he is in an adult state of mind. We could charge him as an adult.
Got it.
And so
you didn't know about any of that prior to doing that test or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Nobody ever mentioned that to you? Nothing like that? Okay.
No.
And how long after the actual shooting were you picked up?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. So it didn't last too long.
No.
Okay. So without that, I don't know if you know this, but without that gun, without them getting that, did they know who they were looking for?
No.
Yet they didn't know. So they would have, it's plausible to think they would have figured it out if you got cameras and everything, but at that point they didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you go to juvenile hall, and what's that like?
So juvenile hall was fighting every day.
Okay.
You had to fight.
But when you got to juvenile hall, you got booked in. They gave you
go to
your
suicide
room.
watch.
Okay.
So anytime you come in for a 187, they put you under suicide surveillance. So I was like butt naked in a rubber room for 3 days. My dad came to see me. So like we were playing chess, you know what I mean? Like just little stuff. He was sneaking me in burritos and, things like that.
Did you get a closer bond with Dad when you got in there?
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? That's That's crazy how things like that happen.
Now I went my first 15 years like wanting him.
Yeah.
And then now we spent the last 20 years
catching up
with him.
Yeah,
you know
crazy.
What I mean?
So okay, so you get in there. You're in suicide watch because that's just a normal procedure for somebody who just did a homicide, right, or murder. And I'm assuming that you're being charged with murder one because you waited for this guy, right? No.
So I was a juvenile. They don't put it in a category like that.
Okay.
You're there for whatever the crime is. That crime holds time. You go to YA and you do a piece of a fraction of that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, which was all good. And my Codys were, one was an adult, one was a juvenile. And so, which was really cool. That we were able to just plead out. So the Cody that was an adult didn't get a life sentence, right? Yeah. So we all just on a group plea. We all just pled out. There was no court. There was no back and forth. There was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was no telling. There was no pitting us against each other. There was none of that.
Yeah.
We went to court. We told them it was us.
Yeah.
And they sentenced us to youth authority, and Casper, who was an adult, had got 12 years.
Wow. Okay.
And
just for being there with you. Okay.
And so, when I took my time, you would start hearing these horror stories about CYA, what you're going to encounter in CYA, right? And a lot of it is derived from the prison politics that we think that we know, and how it is in prison, like in the movies, they kind of enforce how you would see a prison movie, in YA. You know what I mean?
Got it.
So like I prepared myself to never come home. You know what I mean? And
you basically knew that at that point you were probably going to have to do something that was going to give you more time.
Right.
You already in your head you were like, I'm never going home.
Right.
Okay, I got it.
And I had a juvenile life, which was I had 10 years. I just had to do 10 years, but I had to do like maybe even 2 years, 8 months off of that 10 if I would have just kept my nose clean, didn't get no trouble.
Yeah.
But that's impossible. And so when I was transferred from juvenile hall to NRCC, the Northern Reception for CYA, all I wanted to do was ride.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. I was already the family member that I felt was responsible for putting me in there. I have no contact with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was already a disappointment to my uncle. You know what I mean? My other family was in law enforcement. Like I was just,
so you detached.
Yeah.
100%. You were like, okay, I don't have that anymore.
I don't have it.
That's not my life anymore. Okay.
And so I dove head into the politics and raising my hand and wanting, because the love I got from that made up for not having my family, right?
Yeah.
Because now, remember that narrative that I created. Now that's true now.
Yeah.
I am the black sheep now. I don't have my family now. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like you said, you manifested it. You made it so. Yeah.
And so
crazy.
And so while I'm in there though, the more trouble you get into, the more work you put in, the more love you have, right?
Yeah.
And the more hand daps and hugs and you get all that
respect too, right?
Right.
I mean everything. Yeah.
And so I was able to temporarily replace that love with this love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for a long time, I had that understanding that I love you so much, I'll die for you. I love you so much, I'll kill for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you meant it. It was like,
you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. And now my perspective has changed. You know, like I love my daughter so much, I'll live for her.
Yeah.
And I will do whatever I have to do to stay alive for her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get you.
But at that time, 15, 16, 17, I went through all the gladiator schools. I was in, from NRCC, I went to OH Close, which is the crazy for little kids, right?
Yeah.
And we used to have to fight every 14 days.
It's like a prison for kids, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you're in CYA, were you fighting in there?
Every 14 days, you'd have to fight.
Every 14. Okay.
And if you lost, you'd have to fight.
When you say you have to, what does that mean? Explain that a little bit.
So I ran with the Northerners.
Okay.
We had a rule that you needed to get down with an opposition every 14 days. Don't let the 15th day come and you didn't get down with somebody, because then you get packed out.
Got it. And when you say packed out, they're coming at you.
Every Northerner in the dorm is going to jump you.
Gotcha. And how did sounds crazy, but how do they schedule this shit? Like, if you guys got, how many were in there with you at that time? About
probably about 30.
Okay, so 30 Northerners every 14 days. Who's looking at this log going,
no, but
this is Gilbert's day. This is so-and-so's day.
You have to understand that this wasn't something that was being enforced on us. This is something we wanted to do.
Okay.
So it was like, hey, my 14 days coming up. You know what I mean? It's something we wanted to do.
Got it. Okay.
It wasn't like somebody's like micromanaging, making sure you're doing it.
Yeah.
Because we all wanted to do it.
Got it. Okay. You guys couldn't wait to do it.
Yeah,
you were showing love to your new family. Okay.
And so what they did was, we were causing so much trouble in OH, they sent us down south to Nellis administration on okay, you guys are badasses. Let's see. They sent 12 of us down there.
So fighting in there, I just want to touch on this before we move on. Fighting in there, was it just You guys are throwing hands and that's it, or were you guys using weapons? Were you
No,
guys
just hands.
Just hands? Okay, so you guys were throwing down there, and then you went to where was it?
It's called Nellis.
Nellis. Okay.
It's in L.A. And it was a move by administration to say, you guys want to be bad, let's see how bad you are. So we get down there, 12 of us, over 200 Southsiders that didn't want us there.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted us there. We were on the Crip light, Blood light, Hoover light, Asian, white, green. Nobody wanted us there.
How many of you were that over there?
12.
12. And nobody on the yard, or nobody, or I don't know if it's a yard there, but nobody wanted you there.
Not even the COs, not even the counselor. Nobody wanted us there.
Wow. Why? Do you know why?
Because we started a lot of shit.
Yeah.
We make their lives hard.
Okay.
And so YA is not the place where if you want to just work, go to work and go home.
Yeah.
No, you're like going to work and doing all this paperwork and spraying and breaking up riots and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so when we were down there, I had a homeboy named Monster from Gilroy. He smacked a Southsider with a rock, and busted his face up. Yeah. So they snatched us up and they sent us to LP, which is the juvenile hall down there. And dude, the counselors there were opening the doors for shower and letting them run in on us, and and so we were there for like 4 days, and they came in there like, no, get them out of here. You're gonna get somebody killed. Get them out of here.
Yeah.
So we went back to Nellis, and the Southsiders ended up grabbing one of the guards, taking his keys, letting out all the other Southsiders, and trying to open our doors. And they got to JP from Merced. They got to his door, opened it up, and stabbed him with big pins and stuff.
Did he live, or
he lived?
He lived. Wow. And they never got into yours at that time.
No. I remember me and my Celly Cyclone from Avenal having our mattresses rolled up, tied, like, so it's like a blocker.
Yeah.
So we could just put it in the doorway and just hold it, because that's all we could do.
All you could do. Yeah.
But they got it under control before they could get to anyone other than JP.
Yeah.
And they sent us all back up north.
Wow. Okay. And this is still when you're how old?
15.
50. Still 15. Mm-hmm. You haven't even made it out of 15 yet, and you're going through this. This is your new life, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So where did you go from there?
So we went back up to Preston.
Okay.
And so Preston is the opposite of Nellis. Now there's only 12 Southsiders and 200 Northerners.
Wow.
And so it was our turn.
Yeah.
It was our turn. And so we sent his demon from Corona, sent them off on a helicopter. And that's when they were saying Southsiders can't be on certain lodges with certain Northerners. And so now they're really paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
Because YA has always been crazy, but now it's getting to the point where we're being more organized. You have a lot of people from YA catching cases, going to prison, and then coming back to YA to finish their YA time.
Yeah. And
then they're lacing us up, and it's trickling down from prison to Chad to Preston, and now we're getting wind on how we're supposed to move, right? And so we started just tearing that shit up.
Wow.
And now, by now my little 10 years that I have to do every minute of that by this point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't even care, right?
Yeah.
And then it got to the point from Preston. So I was at Preston I turned 16 at Preston, 17 at Preston. And on my 18th birthday, I went to Chad. And Chad is at one point was the most dangerous institution in California, period. Whether it's prison or whatever.
Where's Chad?
It's in Stockton.
Okay.
It's for 18 to 25.
Wow.
And that's where the heavy politics are. A lot of people are coming back from prison, whether they're Southsiders, Bulldogs, Bloods, Crips, Aryans. They're all coming back from prison to finish their YA time, and they're in Chad. And so that's where we became. So OH was fist fighting. Mm-hmm. Preston was the gladiator school for riots. Yeah. And then Chad was weapons.
Wow.
And that's where boxer from Oakland, he came back from prison and he said, we have a zero hands policy. Like if you see somebody and you don't have a weapon, don't even do nothing to them. Wait till you get a weapon. Like
no, yeah, because everybody else has it. So you're just going to a knife to a gunfight, so to speak, basically. But opposite, right? I mean, yeah. Okay.
And so we had a big riot, March 2001. We had a huge riot with the Bulldogs, and airlifted one. And
Do you remember what happened during any of those that you can talk about that you remember?
Yeah, like his name was Casper from Fresno, Big Mouth, right? I ended up being in prison with him later, and he still has the train tracks and shit on his face.
Yeah.
But he was a big mouth, and Droopy from Stockton had mentioned he wanted to go to prison.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm gonna put him on flats. And we said, let's do it, but let's every hall or every unit get off at the same time. That way they can control it.
Yeah.
So we did, and we beat, stabbed, and sliced these boys for minutes.
Wow. And when you're there, what are the guards at that point? I mean, how are they stopping something like that? What's the beginning? You guys, I'm sure you planned for all this,
it's
right?
A lot of bombs, yeah.
Okay.
So they'll throw a bomb, the smoke bomb. We'll throw a shirt on it, or we'll wrap it up and throw it in the shower or whatever. And we'll do that until they get enough out.
Yeah.
And then they have the Berthas, the blocks, and
yeah.
And then eventually we were on it so tough though they let the German Shepherds loose.
Oh shit!
And then
just on anybody.
Yeah, and that's when it kind of broke up.
Wow. You never got bit?
No. No. That was actually in on Owens Hall. I was on Smith. So Owens Hall, they had that kind of a resistance from the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
They had like a good one going.
Yeah.
We just ran over ours. Like there was probably about 30 of us and maybe 4 of them.
Yeah.
So it was.
That's wild, man.
But they charged us all.
And how long were you at Chad?
From 2000 to 2001.
Okay, so you're only there a year, but that year felt like a year.
Yeah, my 19th birthday. So, which is October 2001. The day before my 19th birthday, I went to CDC, at DVI.
And when did you get these tats? Where was that at?
A lot of these are the originals from like YA, the ones on my face. I'm getting them. These are getting removed.
Removed? Yeah, I've seen that. I remember you telling me you had these on there, and they're gone now.
Yeah, that hurt so bad.
Yeah, but so these are all.
They're why you see how the color is green.
Yeah,
that's
what's
a Preston color. Because they don't give you real pencils, they give you green pencils. So that's a Preston. That's why I don't take it off. Because
what is the number?
It's 114.
114.
114%.
Okay.
So
what is this on your arm?
This is the Triple S, my neighborhood.
Okay, Southside Stockton.
Okay. And then later on, as I got deeper into prison and the politics, I've earned like my Jaguar, my Feather Serpent.
Can you talk about that? Warrior. What that is? What that represents?
So different images mean different amount of work or different struggles that you've went through.
Yeah.
So like I'm missing like a solid star or a teardrop. Basically those are the ones that you want to get.
Okay.
But like my Jaguar is me trying to do it, just falling a little bit short of it.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Okay, I get you. That's crazy. So, and this is Chad. You do a year. Where do you go from Chad
to DVI?
Okay, right here. Not too far, right over the hill in Tracy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And I loved it.
You liked it there?
I loved it. Okay. Coming from CYA and now you're in the big leagues now, right? This is everything everything I've been trained for, from juvenile hall to OH to Nellis, Preston, Chad. Now I'm in the big leagues. Now I'm with the people that matter to me, right?
Yeah.
And my cellie was Junebug from Stockton, and I remember him telling me, "Listen, keep your mouth shut. Stockton's known for being shit starters and troublemakers. They'll put you on the first thing smoking. They'll put you on every hit. You'll be involved in everything. You have to learn to be quiet."
Yeah.
And I was like, "What? I want to be in everything. I want to be on the first thing smoking."
Yeah.
And so I was.
Yeah.
I was.
So they used you when you raise your hand, like you said, right? Like that. they're coming after you for everything. At that
Yeah.
point, they're like, hey, let's throw
But
him in there.
so they have. I won't get too deep into the specifics of like the northerner, but they have different uh like a chain of command uh
Yeah,
that starts low and goes to the top, right?
yeah,
And I remember seeking out the low man, right?
yeah,
Because that's who you're supposed to know.
yeah,
But I happen to come from a neighborhood that's really big,
yeah.
and so I was directed to one of the higher guys,
Hmm.
right? And I'm talking to him, and we're on the yard, and he says, "Hey, as soon as your paperwork clears, I want to, because they do a full background check on you."
Yeah,
And so they said, "As soon as your paperwork clears, I want to holler at you." I said, "Yeah." So it takes about 30 days or so. They filter your name out to see, if you're good.
yeah, yeah. What you're there for?
And so when it comes back, I'm talking to him, and he's like, "What are your plans?" Right? Because so let me run back to Chad. So when we did that in Chad, we all got charged,
Hmm.
right? And so I picked up, another 12 years on top of my YA time. You know what I mean?
Oh shit.
So now I'm doing, basically 22 now,
Yeah,
right? And so they know this. They know how much time you got. They know I came from YA. They know
yeah.
I got a lot of time. They know I'm young,
They
and
know you picked up more time for
yeah,
putting in work.
which
Yeah,
means they know that I'm not tripping on it.
yeah,
So I'm like prime, right?
yeah.
And so they're asking me like, what are your plans? Like how far do you want to take this? And I was like, whatever I have to do. You know what I mean? Put me
Mm-hmm.
on the first thing and let me show you. So I did. And they put us on RB. His name was RB.
Mm-hmm.
They put us on him and um, struck me out
Ah,
over it.
okay. And what happened with him?
He testified not against us, but against the reason why,
Hmm.
which was good enough for them to hit us with the gang enhancement. So all my time basically came from gang enhancement.
Okay.
Stabbing him, I got 3 years, 8 months.
So when did you get certified as a gang member?
Mm, so that was 2002 to 2003.
2003. Okay. And what was the process of that to get you certified?
Well, first thing was the bloodshed.
Okay.
Once that's out the way, and they know that you're, and they knew with us, all
Yeah.
of us coming from YA, what time it was.
Yeah.
But hitting that dude in Tracy got me the ticket to High Desert, and everyone else is going to these low level twos and level ones and
Yeah.
stuff, and here I am, 19, shooting my way up to High Desert.
So when you talk about there's levels, right? I mean, it's like any job, right?
Yeah,
You start
you're
here and you
sergeant,
move your way.
lieutenant, yeah.
Yeah, or like yeah, if you want to put it in those terms, yeah, same thing. So is that how they structure it? Are you called sergeant,
No,
lieutenant? No, no. Okay. So
no. The North has changed a lot.
okay.
Because there was a big influx of dropping out and um, policy changing and people not agreeing and all this stuff going on. But everything's called a channel,
Okay.
right? So you have a channel for everything. It doesn't matter if it's your tier channel that answers to your building channel, that answers to your yard channel, that answers to your prison channel, and it goes all the way
Yeah.
up the channel. So once I got deeper into it, all those low channels are your buffers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the big guy doesn't got. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when and not even just from administration, it comes from the enemies. So when the enemy's looking at who's doing all the wheeling and dealing,
Yeah.
it's the lowest man on the totem pole that's passing out all the kites, passing out all the knives, talking to everybody, handing out the disciplines, and the enemies see that.
Yeah.
So when it's time for them to move, they hit him, not who it matters, right?
Got it. That makes sense. Okay. So when you're there now from Chad, you do the work that you need to put in there, and then that lands you to DVI.
Mm-hmm.
And then from DVI, how long did you do in DVI?
So 30 days, we did our thing, went to the hole. They gave us a 18-month shoe. They suspended it and sent me to High Desert. So I was there like less than a year, maybe 9 months.
So when you say we did our thing, what do you mean?
We stabbed RB.
Okay. And this was from the top down saying this needs to get done, and
Yeah.
you raised your hand saying I'll do it.
Yeah, me and two of youngsters that came from YA with me.
Okay. And then did he die?
No.
No. Okay. So you get that, and that gives you another how much time?
They struck me out.
They struck you out. So you're doing life. That's
35
it.
to life.
Yeah, 35 to life. Okay. Man. And then you go from there. You go to
High Desert.
High Desert, and where's that?
Up in Susanville.
Susanville.
The White House. And so when we get when I get there,
1 second. Okay. Just want to make sure we're still. Wait. Oh, I'll edit it from there. So you from there you go to High Desert, right? Mm-hmm. And then where's High Desert?
It's up in Susanville.
Susanville, okay.
Across the street from the old Susanville
okay.
house. And when I get there, we're on the beginning of a 28-month lockdown. So what happened was, this is before I got there. A couple months before I got there, the Southsiders killed a Northerner, and administration wouldn't let the Northerners out because of the retaliation.
Yeah,
they wanted every Northerner to sign basically a buddy chrono, saying that I will not do nothing if I'm released, right? And whoever at that time the powers that be told us, no, you guys ain't signing that, because that's not what's going to happen. You guys, they're going to hold you accountable.
Yeah,
because that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
you guys are going to have to. You're going to have to take one of theirs.
Yeah,
and so we sat there on lockdown for 28 months.
Yeah,
no visits, no canteen, no nothing, and they're finally doing an integration with the North and the South, and they. With my luck, they do it by age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So 18 to 25s all come out.
Yeah.
And then 26 to 35s all come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's 12 of us on the yard, maybe? No, there's 16 of us on the yard. I'm the youngest. So I'm coming out by myself. And then you have all these Southsiders, all these young Southsiders that got life because they're killing each other in LA.
Yeah.
Coming out with me. You know what I mean? And I remember one of the dreamer from Watsonville tells me, just go to the area and stand on your toes. Don't do nothing, right? But Mondo from Delano, who I guess he recently got killed too, he told me, like, dude, go out there and handle your business. Do not become a victim to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so now I have these two different authority. Now I'm in this catch, right?
Yeah.
Because I get it. The first one wants me to establish and let the next one come out the next day, and then so we can get everybody out, and then we could do our thing.
Yeah.
But then I have someone telling me, like, dude, if you listen to him and they get you, we're gonna deem you no good.
Wow.
Because that's gonna look like an act of cowardice. Like, you're not trying to handle your business.
Yeah.
You're not trying to ride for the homie they just killed.
So when they say that, is it like a on site? When you see one of them, that's it. Mm-hmm. So the COs and everybody that have this, they know that that's going to happen.
They all left the yard and went to the top, around it with their guns. They wasn't going to get caught up in none of that.
Yeah.
So when I came out, there was a little Southsider named Panther, and I booked him. You know what I mean? And I get back to the hole, and then all of a sudden I get jumped on, right? Basically saying I was given a directive, I didn't follow it, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm trying to explain myself, and I'm trying to, like, look, I was told to do this by someone else, told to do this by someone else. At the end of the day, it's me out there, and it's my safety. I don't care about getting somebody else out there at that point.
Yeah.
And so they said, that's okay, but you own some more cleanups. Like, you got to do it again.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
At that point, right? Yeah.
So they send me back out. They send me back out, and same thing, 18 to 25. So it's me again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now there is no waiting. They're coming now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
it's on site for you. They know that you just got done doing something to one of them. You're coming out, even if you're by yourself. That's it.
Well, I mean, it's 6 months later, but
doesn't matter.
Yeah. And it's 18 to 20 to 20.
All you have is time to think about what you want to do.
Yeah.
Right?
And how you're going to get it. And how they know that every Northerner on that yard is older than 25 years old, except for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they got me, they opened me up.
Wow.
They got me. They got me good.
So what happens after that?
I go to Northern Nevada.
No, I mean after you get that, what happens? The hospital or
Yeah.
what's the deal with that?
I went to Northern Nevada Medical Center.
Uh-huh.
They took out 8 inches of my intestine. I had a colostomy bag for 6 months. They had to reattach my colon back to my intestine. Um, it was it was rough.
Yeah. What was the recovery?
Man, it took me so long, but during this time, I got hooked on morphines and Vicodins and somas and all
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
And we're as a northerner, we're not allowed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in the infirmary or in the hospital to the infirmary, it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was they sent me back to when I left the infirmary when I was good enough. They sent me back to AdSeg, segregation.
Yeah.
And getting there, that was it. You can't take no more pills. You can't do none of that.
Yeah.
So I'm kicking. I'm in pain, and I'm kicking, and I'm going through all this stuff, and so enough time has passed now that the yard is flipping. Right, they're rioting and they're doing their thing. So they're getting sent out, and new ones are coming in.
Yeah.
But I was there for the whole thing, right? And so now they're programming. I'm in that seg still. Now they're programming, right? They got past whatever their issue was.
AdSeg is administrative segregation, right? Okay.
And so when I come out of AdSeg back to C lower in High Desert, they're programming now, right? And there's no issue. And I'm like, okay, whatever, right? So I'm told I have to ride for somebody when it happened to them, and I do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then it happens to me, and then you guys are like good, like now it's good, eye for an eye type, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I couldn't.
Wow.
I couldn't do it, and I was specifically told that
so you were wanting somebody to ride for you after that.
After I just did it,
because you did it. Okay, I get what you're saying.
And then I get told I can't have a knife, right? Because they think I'm gonna.
Who told you
that? The authority at that time.
Okay.
Tells me you can't have a knife, right? You can't have a razor. You can't have nothing on you until you show that you're gonna program, right? Because we can't have you coming out here and doing something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I did anyways.
You made something, or you?
Yeah. And then my celly told on me, right? So they're coming. They're like, "Oh, you made a piece last night," all this other stuff, right? And now I could lie to them, which would basically get me hit.
Yeah.
Or I could tell them the truth.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah. I said the fact doesn't change that I still have to come out here with them, and now you want to keep me weaponless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they beat me up, set me to the back, said answer to whoever felt that I couldn't have a knife.
Yeah.
And that's where at that point, this is in 2000, because I was there from 2003 to 2007. So this is like around 2007. I'm already like starting to like not agree with what's going on. I'm already like.
And when you say these people, what gang are we talking about at this time?
Northerners.
Northerners who? There's a specific?
Just Norteños.
Norteños, okay. And it's not a specific gang that you're in at that time?
No.
Just all of the Norteños are together out in there? Okay.
And so, leading up to this, there was a resistance from another group called the Northern Riders, and that was happening. The New Flowers, that was happening on D Yard at the prison I was in. So we were already paying attention to it, and I was already seeing it unfold. I was in AdSeg with plenty of them, and though they refused to go PC, but they refused to program with Northerners, or program as a Northerner.
Yeah.
Right? And so, while I was back there, I started kind of digging the way that they were still holding on to the original North, not dirty politics and not removing our people, not doing all this ugly stuff that like we were against in the first place. And so, I was told, if you go out and you prove an act of loyalty, you can come out here to D Yard. You can't come out here right now though, because you're fresh off of that yard. We don't know what they're sending you out here for.
Yeah.
But if you go back or you handle your celly and show active loyalty, you can come out here. You know what I mean? So I did. I snatched my celly up and we got down, and I ended up not going out there. You know what I mean? They ended up sending me somewhere else.
Wow. So when you're dealing with this, I guess it's called politics, right? I mean, same thing. When you're dealing with these politics and you're seeing these other people that are not having to deal with the politics, is it just looking better and better to you? Like, I'd rather have that than deal with what I'm dealing with.
Well, they were still running the politics, but they were running the original way.
Yeah.
And the way that I was when I came in, that's how, for the last 7 years, those are the politics that I was under. I understood. I couldn't understand this new, somebody that gets caught sleeping and then you fine them, $1,000. Like, I couldn't understand that. You know what I mean? That's not. That wasn't my game, and that's definitely not what I picked all this time up for.
Yeah.
And so when I seen this other group, these riders and these new flowers, and they're doing things the original way, right? And they're all riding for each other too. And that was another thing, whereas with the North got to the point where they would send 2 people, and then those 2 people would just get whatever happened to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the rest of the yard we would watch.
Yeah.
Whereas
this is high desert that you're in. Okay. In high desert, who's running the shit out there? Who's running the show, basically?
As far as what person?
Like, no, just in general. Like, who's running? Is it
The CEOs?
Whites, blacks, Hispanics?
Because
it's separated, no matter what, right? It doesn't matter where you come from. It's separated by race, right? It's all of it. Okay.
High desert was, I would say, a white. It was really heavily Aryan influenced. Which means that put Southsiders in a better position than it did Northerners.
Why is that?
Because they call High Desert the White House, which means all those COs are white, which means half of those COs' cousins are Aryans, and the white men that were there were favored by the COs.
Oh, wow.
And whites and Southerners are tight in prison. So anywhere that a white has favor, a Southsider has favor, and a Northerner has no favor.
So who are the Northerners with?
Blacks. At that time, we were with blacks.
Okay.
That stopped in 2007.
So the gangs that are running right at that time, you got the Northerners are going to be NF. Is that?
No, more of. I mean, it's under the tutelage of the NF.
Okay.
But there was no NF out there.
There was no, okay. And then the South was it Mafia?
Same thing under the Mafia.
Okay.
But there was none of them out there.
Okay. But the Aryan Brotherhood was there.
They were there.
They were there. Okay. And BGF, Black Guerrilla Family.
There was 2 of them there.
2 of them there. Okay.
But you got to understand. So, and at this time, we had stopped messing with the Africans because they stopped messing with themselves, right?
Okay.
So now you have these down south Crips coming, not messing with the down south Bloods, not messing with the up north Crips and the Bay Areas that don't want nothing to do with none of that. And so they kind of were just.
Yeah. And what level yard is this?
Level 4.
Level 4 yard. Okay. So it didn't matter. They were just not. They were not hanging out and socializing with each other, even though they were
each other's back.
Supposed to be at pretty much, right? That's kind of the expected thing.
Yeah, well, so there was a incident where a white man owed this down south Crip money, and the Bay Area blacks, the up north blacks, were like, he's from down there. Let him and his homies handle it.
Oh, okay.
And it's never been like that.
Oh.
And that's when the Northerners were like, hey, we need to cut ties with them because they're already messy.
Got it. Okay. And then High Desert, how long were you there?
From 2003 to 2007.
Okay, so you're there 4 years, and then 4 years. Did you pull any more time from High Desert?
Yeah, I actually went to court there. You catch a case in High Desert, you go to court, and the courthouse is on the prison. They do your arraignment, your plea bargaining, your sentencing all in 15 minutes.
Wow.
It's so kangaroo.
Wow.
So I picked up 3 years, 8 months. I just took it. It was nothing. at that time.
Yeah, at that time, I mean, you already have life, right?
I was
I mean,
doing the full bid, so
yeah. And what do they call that? I know I heard somebody say all day.
all
Is
day.
that what it's called? All day? Wow. So, okay, so you're high desert 4 years. What do you go after high desert?
Corcoran shoe.
All right, secure housing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. And why do you end up there?
So now they're at the point where they're saying that I'm a program failure. I need to go to the actual shoe because I was catching shoe terms but not being sent to the shoe.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're saying you need to go to the shoe and complete a shoe program in the shoe. Because in AdSeg, you do your shoe program and they suspend it all the time.
Yeah.
When you go to the shoe, you do your actual time.
Mm-hmm.
So 36 months I had to go down there and do.
What was that like?
It was cool. Actually, every time I've been to the shoe, it has been where I can actually relax. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah, because
I mean, you're secured by yourself at that point, right? So you don't have to. You're not doing this shit and looking behind your back and waiting who's going to come try to hit me. Who's doing what?
Not politicking, not worrying about.
But you're alone. It's like there's nobody to talk to. You're not. Yeah, you got four walls.
Read
right?
your Bible.
Yeah.
That's all they give you is a Bible. Read it.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you're in there for how long? You said
36 months.
36 months. You didn't have any contact with anybody at all. Not even an hour a day, 20 minutes, nothing.
Well, you come out of your cell to the yard for an hour, and if you got lucky that day, you might have had a homie in the cage next to you. But if not,
but there's no like hanging out, talking, and running. I mean, it was more like you guys are both separated still, right?
Yeah, he'd be in the cage across from you, like 2 feet from you,
wow,
in his own little dog kennel. And like if you did get a homie out there, that was cool. Then you got to chop it up with the homie for an hour.
Yeah.
But usually you have a black, a white, or someone, you know what I mean, and they're yelling over you to their homies, and so you just work out and go in.
All right. So, how long after that 36 months? Where you at now?
So now, let me take you back to in 2007, before I left High Desert, I had already committed that act of violence against my people, right?
Okay.
So now they're on the lookout for me for where I touch down somewhere.
Your own people,
the Northerners.
Okay.
And
so let me make sure I understand this, and for people listening, you're basically avoiding your own people, plus the people that you were already avoiding, which is Southsiders, right? Well, so at that point, do you not have anybody to look or to help, or
no? I'm not avoiding them. Administration placed me in the segregation by myself.
Yeah.
Well, once that segregation's up, they don't know what to do with me.
Yeah.
What do we do? Do we send them back with the Northerners? Do we send them SNY? Do we send them to a 50-50 yard? So basically, it's wherever I go. If it doesn't work out, they'll know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they sent me to Pleasant Valley, which was a 50-50 yard.
Yeah.
And I got out there and I liked it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I liked it. It was all homeboys from up north. They were partying, popping pills, smoking. Like it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was still given another chance to look, blow that yard up. You could blow that yard up, come back here and we'll clear you.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
You didn't want to do that. Why?
At that point I was done, right? And now, this is 2008. So this is like 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. I've already been down since 98. I was, you know what I mean, 15. Now I'm 25.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm just done. I'm done with it. And
yeah. So you didn't want if I'm understanding what you're saying correctly, you didn't want to be told what to do. You wanted to do your own thing. Yeah. When you decided you wanted to do something, you were going to do it, not right. When somebody told you had to do it. Okay. I get what you're saying. So, and at that time, who were you clicking up with at that time?
So I got into the cell with, he was next door. His name was Slim, Slim Pimpin'. And he was a Northern Rider.
Okay.
And I just digged it, the way that they rode for each other, and the brotherhood they had.
Yeah.
And
still Norteños though, right? Or is it?
He was actually an ex-blood.
Okay. Okay.
But from SAC.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the way that they were getting down with each other. Because you have to remember, I still don't have my family. I put in a lot of work for some people now that actually didn't want to that wanted to hurt me.
Yeah.
So like, what am I supposed to do? So I, we keep reaching out and grabbing on to shit.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
who I
like you're
settled
falling
with.
out of a fucking tree, trying to grab the closest branch,
Yeah.
right? At that point. So at this point, what happens if you were to go back to like one of those old yards? Is it like they're coming after you?
I'm coming after them.
Oh, you're coming after them. Okay.
So once I took my declaration to become a Northern Rider, that was the line in the sand that all my old ties we're not cutting them. We're oppositions now.
Got it. Okay. And then who? So Northern Riders, who are you? This is SNY yard,
Mm-mm.
right?
This was a 50-50 yard.
50-50. Okay, so you have both. You have explain that a little bit. What 50-50 means?
So 50-50 means everybody on the yard is active
Mm-hmm.
except for your group, right? So they have 50-50 yards for Southsiders where everybody on the yard will be active
Okay.
except the Southsiders.
Okay.
And Pleasant Valley was one for Northerners, which means the whites, the Southsiders, the Bulldogs, the blacks, everyone is active except for Northerners.
Yeah.
They were still labeled Northerners, but they were just non-active Northerners.
Okay. And this Pleasant Valley.
Pleasant Valley.
And so when you're in there, what gangs are prevalent in that
At this
prison?
time, it was just the Northern Riders,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was the active Southsiders, the active White Boys, Bloods, Crips, Bulldogs,
Okay.
Pisces, others.
Okay. All right. And then how long are you in there?
2009 to. Well, I went back and forth because we used to fight with Bulldogs a lot.
Okay.
But 2009 to 2015, doing that back and forth.
All right. So tell me what happens in Pleasant Valley.
So
I heard a little bit about this. You kind of mentioned it to me, but I didn't even want to know the story. I wanted you to tell me so I can understand kind of.
So Pleasant Valley does have an SNY yard,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually I ended up going to the SNY yard.
Mm-hmm.
We all did.
What's S and Y?
Sensitive needs,
Okay.
basically PC
Okay.
is what they call it.
Okay.
And so we went, all of us from C yard ended up going to A yard.
Yeah.
And
Why did they do that to you guys, or why did you
forced our hand.
Okay.
They forced our hand. They were saying, if you guys are gonna act like Northerners, then we're just gonna treat you like Northerners. Then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you guys could go out to the S because we refused it for so long. We refused to go out there.
Yeah.
And then but being back in AdSeg, you would meet homies from A yard, which is the SNY yard, and they would tell you like it was nothing like they say. It's
Yeah.
nothing like they say.
So was there when you're in there, was there a stigma of being on an SNY yard?
Yeah, it's PC.
I mean, so what was the stigma with that?
You're out there with rapists, child molesters, and snitches and pieces of shit.
Got it.
And so like we didn't want that.
So are you labeled as that now if you go to that yard, or you don't want to be out there because you don't want to mingle with them?
We don't want to be out there because we don't want to mingle. We don't want to be around them, right?
Okay.
And for a long time, I used to talk shit to the people especially the homies that were on the SY yards,
Mm-hmm.
and be like, how you a man, but you sucking your Fruit Loops down next to a child molester.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which ended up not being like that. There's so many gangs and shit that goes on in the SNY yard. It puts the main line to shame.
You know, I watched a video. It's crazy that you say that because I watched a video of an actual correctional officer saying that he had people asking to go back to a normal yard after SNY because they said it was a completely different and basically more Wild West than it was on the regular. Yeah. Because it's more structured, right? I mean, everything's like exactly on the main line.
And on the SNY yard, if I have a problem with you, I could take your head off. Who's gonna tell me no?
Yeah, got it.
And so that's what was going on. It was when I first got out there, it was insane.
Mm-hmm.
Without saying too much, the riders that I ran with,
Mm-hmm.
we got into it with X-rated,
Mhm.
you know, and booked him. They booked him.
X-rated the rapper.
Mhm.
Wow.
They
Okay.
they booked him over some, and that's the type of stuff that was happening out there.
Yeah.
Like you were not exempt. Nobody was.
How do you even get like associated with him? How
Well,
did that happen?
so I guess whatever took him to the SNY yard. I guess it might have been something happened in Folsom, and on the main line, and he ended up going PC. When he got to Pleasant Valley, he was doing, I guess, from what the homies was telling me, was doing foul business,
Okay.
not paying people and things like that. And I guess he at visiting he had called out one of the homies,
Hmm.
and they didn't like it. They went out there and they booked him.
Okay. So I watched a little bit about that, and they were saying that he was like doing music with some of the guys.
Yeah.
Okay. You what?
Damn, I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he was doing. Do you know who he was doing music with at the time, or
No.
No. Okay. So
I
basically,
mean, I know who it was. I don't remember his name. He was a big fat homie though.
okay.
I don't remember his name.
Okay. Yeah. So during that time, they just basically said he was doing foul business, and they were just gonna get after him at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what happened with that?
So what they ended up doing was snatching us all up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they took us all to the hole, and they charged us, all of us, with that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
What happened?
when they stabbed him,
Okay.
it was like a little mini riot. Him and a couple of his boys,
Okay.
they got took off on, and they stabbed him, and then his boys jumped in and had like a little mini scuffle.
Yeah.
But administration has a target because this is a new thing too. The Northern Riders was a new thing.
Yeah.
And they came out of nowhere, and now they're blowing yards up, stabbing people, doing all this thing. So administration is trying to get a handle on this, and they don't know how. So they end up snatching anybody who they even thought was related to a Northern Rider.
Yeah.
And they charged us. They charged all of us with this shit. And when we were going to court, nobody confessed, and court was like, "Are you guys really gonna send me 30 fucking people for this one little stabbing? Like all 30 of them didn't stab this guy."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they ended up not charging.
How many were involved during that time?
That actually stabbed him too.
Two. And you know who those people are?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So, did he die?
No, he's out. He got out.
He got out
somehow.
I haven't heard anything about it. I remember.
He just
I remember growing up listening to music by him, and who was it, Brother Lynch, and
Yeah.
it was crazy.
He just released some new music.
Really?
Yeah.
So what do you think that would be like if you came across that guy outside? What would that be like, do you think?
I don't know. I know he's a man. He stands on his business.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that. But leading up to that, like he taught me how to shoot properly on the basketball court. Like, you know what I mean? So we had a friendship too, though. You know what I mean? And he taught me how to box out without using my elbow.
Yeah.
And things like that. So like we were cool leading up to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was on my softball team. And then that happened, but I do know he knows that that's business.
Yeah.
It's not personal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I don't hold nothing against him.
Yeah.
And I think it would be the same way.
So if the role was reversed and they came after you, you got stabbed several times, almost died,
Mm-hmm.
and you see this person outside of jail or prison, sorry.
In my mind state now?
In your mind state right now, what are you saying to somebody like that?
It's good. It's all
water under the bridge.
It is.
Yeah.
That was a different life. That was different times. And I understand what business is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I understand you have to handle your business. If I did something foul and I wound up getting hit for it,
Mm-hmm.
that's you standing on your business. I won't hold that against you. If I was still under that mindset,
Yeah.
then it's different.
So after Pleasant Valley, how long are you in Pleasant Valley?
Till 2015.
2015. Wow. So you did some time there.
Yeah, that was my main prison.
Main prison. Okay.
Been on the active yard, the 50-50 yard, and the SY.
So during that time at Pleasant Valley, that's probably one of the more notable things that happened there, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But can you have any other stories about what's going on in there? Anything?
Well, there was also coming out of Pleasant Valley at this time was another PC gang, or I'm gonna say another PC gang. I don't like to look at the Northern Riders as a PC gang, because there are a lot of I have a lot of like love for them. I did step back from that as I, my time changed, my my freedom became available to me under the law that changed in 2018. And I'm really close with the founder of it, Badass Snoop. I'm really close with him, and as a matter of fact, 2 weeks before I was going home, something needed to happen, and I handled it for him. You know what I mean? Just as a gesture that, like, I'm stepping back from what's going on, but not for no love lost though.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting my freedom back, and I'm not gonna lose it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, and like Snoop understood, he understands. He has a book out. I can't remember what it's called now.
Yeah. Where he explains basically all his life and everything in prison and doing time and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that name before, so it's I'm sure he's a
Maurice Vasquez.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my big brother. I love that man, right? But I chose to step back from the workings of that.
Yeah.
Right? And he was there when I did it.
Yeah.
Right. This is in Lancaster. Like he was there when I and I told him.
Yeah.
His son was actually one of my best friends who got killed in Salinas Valley. And so he loves me too. And he doesn't hold nothing against me. And I know for sure he's like, yeah, you're shining, Playboy. I see you shining now. You know what I mean? You're a dad. You're doing the barbecue thing. You got your own house, cars, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's no love there. So I don't want to classify them as a PC gang.
Yeah.
Because I know how they get down.
Yeah.
And they don't get down like PCs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at this time there was a PC gang called 2-5, and they were coming up, right? And so watching them get into it with people, and then people not knowing like how to react to that was a trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was a trip.
Were they as deep as you guys were?
No.
Okay.
And the funny thing with them is they were really undercover too. So you could hit them up and be like, "Are you a 2-5er?" Like, fuck that shit. But really they were.
Oh wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you guys weren't allowed to do that though.
No, hell no.
Yeah. If somebody asks you, it is what it is.
Yeah, but they knew.
Yeah.
Because we weren't undercover with it. Like they knew.
Yeah.
And then later on, 2015, 16, 17, 18. They're out there now, and they're deeper than everybody.
Really?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Wow. In that short time, they blew up.
Yeah.
So who would it be safe to say that they're the ones pretty much running the yard out there?
Not where there's any riders, right? Yeah. Snoop is a brilliant businessman type mentality, and so what he did is he dropped the Northern from the riders, right? Basically opening the door for anybody. So now your demographics ain't just Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he dropped the Northern, and he embraced from all over, right? As long as you were worthy of being a rider. Didn't matter where you were from. Didn't matter if you were a blood.
So you had Southsiders coming over too. Oh, okay.
And so that's why they're just rider. He just kept a rider label.
Yeah.
And anybody who's worthy of it, doesn't matter if you're a ex-blood, ex-Crip, ex-Aryan brother, whatever you are, if you're worthy of that movement.
How are you deemed worthy?
You have to show acts of loyalty. I know Snoop has an extensive evaluation process. He watches your character. He watches how you do business with people before he even bring you in.
Yeah.
How you move.
Yeah.
How you talk. What your reputation is. and he'll kick you out if you don't stand on the principles of what a writer is, of a real playboy. He'll kick you out.
And nobody in there, it doesn't come across them to say, "Who's this guy? I don't need to listen to him."
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So people try to rise up and do their own thing, and then what happens?
The thing is Snoop is really charismatic, and he's really smart business wise, right? And so he knows this is gonna happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so I don't want to say it's a brainwashing, but when he brings you in, you'll kill for this motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when someone wants to raise up, there's a individual named Scrappy from San Jose, and he speaks against Snoop all the time. They get his ass. You know what I mean? They get him.
Yeah. Wow. So he's got such a following that he doesn't really even have to do anything. The people are going to follow and say, I know, but I'm saying the way I'm getting it is that they're so loyal to him that they're like, no, you're not going to do this and talk and disrespect him.
Or his movement that he made this for us.
Got it.
You're not going to come change nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Snoop is a definition of a field general. He's frontline with his men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He doesn't send people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's
there. He's leading from the front. He's a
field general for sure.
Okay. So in there, as I know you said you don't like to label the riders as SNY gangs or PC gangs, but what are all the PC gangs that are out there that were in that prison with you?
So that was basically those two in Pleasant Valley, right? And then that we had that riot with X-Rated, so another shoe term, and then from that shoe term I was sent to Lancaster, and Lancaster was a trip, right? It was down south in the middle of the desert. There was 5 riders there. Snoop got there, kicked 3 of them out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't play you could be worthy today and do some bozo shit the next day, and he has a zero tolerance for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then I had their numbers were so short. There was a big homie named Bouncer from Broderick, and he needed to get pushed back out of being a rider.
Yeah.
But there was only Snoop and YG. And if Snoop and YG would have done that, they would have took them off. There would have been no riders on the yard. I'm going home in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I told Snoop, I got you on this, right? Tell YG just hands though. And Snoop was like, yeah, we're gonna, because Bouncer was a good homie that always was dedicated to the riders. He just fucked up.
Yeah.
And so Snoop was like, no weapons, put hands on him, and he could stay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we did. You know what I mean? Bouncer's a big old boy.
Yeah.
So me and YG put hands on him, or BG. Me and BG put hands on him, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
I did my last 14 days on the lockdown on quarantine. You know what I mean?
That's crazy, man. So total, you did how long?
19 years, 8 months, 23 days.
That's your whole life. You know what I mean? That's like. So when you get out, you're what? You learning how to drive? Did you already know that? You know what I mean? Like this, I'm asking because you said 15, you pretty much went in, right?
Yeah.
So at 15, you're learning how to drive at that time.
Yeah, but let me get back to the other SNY gangs that were in Lancaster, right?
Yeah.
So they had the 2-5ers, which were really deep at this point.
Yeah.
Right. And then they had they're called Zapatistas, right? Or rebels.
Yeah.
And they came up rivals with the 2-5ers.
Yeah.
And the Zapatistas are a lot like the Northern Riders.
Yeah.
The way that they're a brotherhood.
Yeah.
They have a zero hands policy. They're responsible for all kinds of murders of 2-5ers.
Wow.
And, like public knowledge.
Yeah.
Look it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're
they were modeled after Emiliano Zapata, right?
Zapata, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Mexican
They
Revolution.
they love this guy.
Uh-huh. Who's that?
That's Subcomandante Marcos.
Uh-huh.
He's the Zapatista leader in Mexico right now.
Uh-huh.
They'll all have something like that. All
Mm-hmm.
of them.
Yeah.
But and there's a few of them. They're not big in numbers,
Yeah.
but they're really with the business. I would say, be the writers in them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the writers in them, and then everybody else.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then
And you guys are cool with each other in there, or is it just like, okay, we'll coexist. We're not cool, but we're coexisting.
No, they're cool.
They're cool.
So
Okay.
so the the real recognize real type thing.
Got it.
They see how we move, or they see how the writers move, and the
Mm-hmm.
writers see how they move, and you have no choice but to recognize it.
Yeah.
You have a lot of like independent writers,
Mm-hmm.
and shout out to them. Like I know a lot of them that are really fully with the shit. You know, the Lobo brothers, like
Yeah.
they're really with the shit.
Yeah.
But then you have a lot of they don't hold every single person to a certain standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know for a fact Lobo was with the shit, but he doesn't hold every single member to his standard though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which makes it hard. And Snoop does that.
Yeah.
And Snoop holds everybody to a standard. And I don't know who started or who the main guy is for because the Zapatistas are real tight with each other. I don't know who's who, but I know they all move the same. They all act the same. They are all on the same page.
Everybody on the same page.
And then you had like other stuff come out, right? The All Stars, like just other little cliques, and I think the All Stars were like some Orange County.
What were the New Flowers? What was that?
So New Flowers never made their way to SNY.
Oh, okay.
They stay mainline,
Okay.
and basically their New Flowers is NF. They're all NF dropouts.
Yeah.
That because the NF had a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And so just because these are not a part of that no more, they still don't have that brotherhood, right? They still did a lot of shit for each other.
Yeah.
So and they kept that, and they're real tight. They don't. I couldn't be one. I was never NF.
Yeah.
So I couldn't come to them and be like, let me be part of your brotherhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They have that with each other.
Yeah. So the coexist. I don't know if you know how that all goes down with them because you weren't NF, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when an NF sees Mexican Mafia on there, is it like a what?
I think
what's
they have some type of ceasefire or something now.
Okay, so they're not. It's not on site kind of thing. Nothing like that.
As far as I know, I've been out of touch now.
Yeah,
for 6 years.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And even further back than that, when SNY and was on that side, I didn't care what they were doing over there.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would hear things and laugh about it. Like, hey, I guess they just sent around a kite in Pelican Bay saying if your door opens, don't get off on the Southsiders. And we would laugh at it like that's crazy.
So when we're talking about prison, right? Obviously, I know a little bit more than the average person because I'm in law enforcement, right? I hear about this stuff. I know I've sent people to prison, right? I mean, that's my job. When that's what we do. So hearing this from you is, I'm hearing stories that I'm not privy to, right? You don't get everybody just off the street telling you everything that happened to them when they were in prison, right?
Right.
Locked up. I like to talk to people. I like to get, hey, what kind of yard were you on? Were you on level 1, level 2, level 3? And I ask those questions for one reason, for my safety, right? If this dude is a level 4, I know he's a serious dude, right? I already know that they put you level 4 for a reason, right? So I ask those questions for that. But for people that are watching and going to see this, they know prison from TV, right? And they know that you go in prison, you're getting raped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go in prison,
I've never seen it.
Immediately you're getting somebody stabbing you that night. You know what I mean? This is what they see because this is what's on TV.
That's
so I wanted to ask you, like, what is it really like? Are you watching yourself? Is somebody going to take your manhood? Is that,
No.
I mean.
No. So for one, homosexual activity is out, right? It's not even, that is like you'll be stabbed. You get caught doing some gay shit.
Wow.
You know what I mean? There is no one raping nobody. Maybe back in the 70s, you know, but no, I've never seen, I've never heard of it.
No, okay. Is it more because of the yard you were on and not because it was a main yard, or that is it different
Well, no, well, I'm saying you say when I first
in
got in
general?
prison
In general, you're saying you'd
on
never
the on
seen
the
it.
SNY yard, there's all kinds of gay shit going on.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't pay attention to it or indulge in it,
Yeah.
but it happens there. But when
Yeah.
you first get to prison, you'll never see no gay shit.
Yeah.
If you go mainline, you'll never see no homosexual shit.
Really?
No, you won't even hear about it.
Ah. So all these videos that people put out, it's just they're just trying to
There's no.
make. Yeah. It's not like that. Got it. Okay. And that's interesting because that's the first thing people think, right? I mean, when they go, oh man, if this guy's going to prison, that's the first day. It's like a thing that people say. Oh, he's gonna find the biggest dude in prison is gonna make him his woman, right?
Yeah, and then they also say like, oh, you're gonna get shanked. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When, I mean, there's a possibility that that's true, but it's not gonna happen just because it's you. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get to the right prison at the wrong time, and that's what happens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not funny when you're dealing with that for your life, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody like you who had to go through that for 19 years, but from our side, it's like a running joke, right? It's like, don't drop the soap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? People say that because of that.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
That's,
So that stuff's not happening.
matter of fact, they give you body wash.
Yeah.
You don't even get the bar soap level 4.
Yeah. So none of that.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. So, I think I don't know if it was you that mentioned it or if I heard it somewhere. They actually have a gang in there that is homosexual.
The gay boy gangsters.
That's a real thing. So
The GBGs, yeah.
wow. So what's that about?
I guess it's a group of homosexuals that kind of banded together to, just like in any other gang.
Yeah.
Right. So, let's say somebody wants to get off a yard. So that's now you're on the SNY yard. You don't have no politics, and let's say you're way up north and you want to go down south.
Yeah.
So you have to get off the yard, right? You're already PC. You can't lock it up.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you have to do? Get off on somebody. And so, who's a good target that's not going to really have no backflap? A punk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you find a homosexual.
So they got
beat 'em up.
together to go, no, that's
Like,
not
yeah,
happening.
ain't shit happening. So they kind of banded together so they don't get jumped on. Because I done it.
Yeah.
You know, you find a lame, you find a homosexual, and you beat them up. So you can go to the hole and get your transfer out of the prison if you don't want to be there.
That's crazy. So were they deep or was it just a few of them in there?
Where I was at with them, there was just a few.
Yeah.
But they would ride though.
Really? If so, people didn't.
They stopped doing that shit.
doing-
When they wanted to leave, they stopped doing that.
I mean, I guess if you don't have no choice, man, you got to do what you got to do, right? I mean,
That's the nature of the beast when it comes to gangs, right? Why? Like, what is the necessity? Everybody needs somebody to protect themselves.
yeah,
In prison, right?
yeah,
And then you even have like these individuals that don't need nobody that hang out with each other because they don't need nobody. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
yeah, I get you. So there's really not a, I'm by myself in here.
No.
There's not, you don't see that
No.
at all.
No, even though I'm by myself, guys, all hang out with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So you got 50 people hanging out by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I get what you're saying. So, but they're not considered a gang or anything. They're just, these are the
themselves.
guys that are by themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. And they're not putting in work or anything like
Sure
that.
they are.
Or they are. Okay.
If one of those guys who are by themselves has an issue with somebody, all them dudes that are by themselves have an issue too. You know what I mean?
Okay. So, all right.
They just
So
don't
you're
have
not-
a label.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy, man. But just the whole, just hearing the stories, just how it actually goes down in there, and I mean, how do you think you made it through? Like, what kept you
God.
going?
So, later on, I found God has a purpose for me.
Mhm.
So everybody belongs to somebody in prison, even the COs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the COs, they have a green wall. They have a brotherhood. They protect each other the same way we protect each other. You know what I mean? And that just speaks volumes of the prison culture, right? Nobody is in prison by themselves, right? Um, from the homosexuals to the COs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nobody's by themselves, and so I have this mentality now that I need something, somebody, someone, you know what I mean? Because that's all I know.
Yeah.
And so when I'm released, it's like, damn, I'm by myself, right?
Yeah.
And for a year, I kind of just rocked out. You know, I married the first girl I met and did all that, and then I got clean after that, and she stayed doing what she was doing, and so like I know now, like I found God, I found a purpose, right?
Yeah.
And this ties all back to, this is what my grandma tells me, like, you know, your fucking papa is rolling over in his fucking grave.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, what am I supposed to? What am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And then
So real quick, I wanna take one step back because I remembered something just now. It just popped into my head that you mentioned to somebody. I thought it was crazy. Mentioned something to me that I thought was insane. I said, "Who is the most dangerous gang that you can think of in prison?"
the Green
And
Wall.
in your response was the COs. That's, to me, that's crazy, right? Because you're talking to somebody law enforcement side, right? And I'll tell you this from my point of view. I go out there with my coworkers and we do our job. We do it to the best of our ability. We try to do it as perfect as we possibly can because we get scrutinized for sneezing wrong, right? This is my point of view to you, just explaining. And we out there are called by other people a gang. People call us that, and for me to hear that is like, we're not a gang. We're here to, I see myself as the good guy, right? I'm here to help, and that help may not feel like help to most people because some of them I'm taking their freedom, right? That's not the help that they want.
Do you have a partner?
I do.
So
We have several on a team.
And what's your guys' number one goal at the end of the day?
Go home to
go
our
home.
family. Yeah.
And so, and me too. My goal is to make sure me and anybody associated with me goes home.
Yeah.
The COs the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if they have to kill you to get home. That's the goal, right?
Yeah.
So why wouldn't they have a type of brotherhood? Right,
Yeah.
that's the environment. They're in an environment where they're against all these different brotherhoods and all these things to protect themselves. Why wouldn't they then form one to ensure that they get to go home every night?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying, and it's dangerous, right? I mean, it's a dangerous job. You're out there with.
They have
you're
keys.
outnumbered.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? You're outnumbered, so it's like, I get the job that they're doing. I mean, I'll be honest. I wouldn't want to do the job.
No.
You know what I mean? I see myself. I go out there. I'll tell you right now. Just the other day, me and 1, 2, 3, 4 of us walking up to a call and shots fired at us, and we're ducking down, looking for who's doing this. We're running towards it, and so when I talk to people about that, they're like, why are you running towards the sound of gunshots? But that's what we signed up to do, right? And still, for me to think about being in a prison setting with, hundreds of inmates who are not in there, and I explained this before, not in there because they just decided to bring you into prison. These people are putting in work. I mean, as such as yourself, who is in there for murder, right? You're in there with a bunch of these guys that are doing that. So for me, it's an unsettling feeling thinking about being in there with them. So I can only imagine that
it almost works to their advantage that there is all these different groups.
Yeah.
So it's not just one big group against them.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost to their advantage. There's a bunch of little groups that are all against each other too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of makes them. But I mean, they have the keys. They have the weapons. They have whatever, the backup and all that.
Yeah.
I know majority of the illegal shit that happens in prison is through a CO in some way. You know what I'm saying? Those phones, these inmates don't go into their cell and make them. They come from somewhere. You know what I mean? And the phone is
So, so let me understand this correctly. So the phones that are getting in there and other stuff that's getting in there, they're not, obviously we see movies, right? People sneaking them in, however they sneak them in
How?
somehow. I'm just saying that's not happening. You're saying,
Oh, they're getting snuck in by the COs that are making money off it. You know what I mean?
shit.
And the phone is a lifeline for people to stay in contact in other prisons, on the streets, dope shipments, money shipments, all this stuff. You know what I mean? One phone can change the course of a whole prison because now that communication's open to all over. You know what I mean? All the way down to the cartels. You know what I mean? Because there's big money in prison.
Yeah.
You know, your little $50 gram, $20 gram on the streets is going for $1,000 in prison.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You slice that thing up into $100 slices. So there's a lot of money to be made, and I don't care who you are. If you're a correctional officer and you're getting a divorce, and she's taking half all your shit because you got the good job and the good benefits, and she stayed at home and raised the kids, and now you're getting a divorce and you got to give her alimony. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You're human.
Well,
but I'll give you $2,000 to bring me a phone. As a matter of fact, he will too. So bring us 10 phones, $2,000 a piece. Your problem solved, right?
Man, I mean, I'm not in there, right? I don't know what it's like for either side, for the COs and for you doing time. But for me, man, it just doesn't resonate with me because I can't imagine a drug dealer saying, "Hey, you stopped me with X amount of pound of whatever I have, 2 guns in my car," and go, "Hey, I'll give you 10 G's.
You never
Just
been bribed?
let me roll." Never.
You've never been
I've
bribed?
never been bribed like that. Okay, I've been help me out, this and that. I'll take care of you on like stupid things like
What city are you?
tinted windows or something like this. I remember a guy saying, "Hey man, I own this company. I'll tint your windows. Just don't give me a ticket." Stupid things, right? I mean, and I'm like, bro, don't do that. But I'm saying I can't imagine that happening to where, let's say I do stop a car. I've stopped many cars. I've arrested many people in my life that had tons of dope on them, from meth to heroin to crack cocaine to whatever it is, you name it. I've arrested people for large amounts of it. Guns, several guns, automatic guns, machine gun, everything, you name it. I've arrested people for it. Never had any of them say, "I'll give you this if you don't arrest me and let me go right here." One. Two, had they said that, I would put it in my report that they said that and still arrest. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
There's nothing in my head that tells me, "Oh shit, I can use this 10 grand." You know what I mean? Or I can use this $1,000. Nothing in my head. Doesn't matter in my head. If I'm getting divorced, I'm losing my kids. It doesn't matter. That doesn't resonate.
That's like saying every CO is part of the Green Wall as well, though.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Because they're not, right?
Yeah.
But you've heard of the Rampart and all that, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not saying every cop is perfect. I'm not naive.
So
I
that happens.
Yeah. I get that there's corruption.
The sexual favors, all that stuff really happens, right? So why wouldn't it happen in prison? Why, like, you know what I mean? No one's exempt. No one is exempt to their nature.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There will be people that will take full advantage of their situation.
It's crazy. And just thinking about that that kind of stuff goes on. And as you said, it's like, I mean, it's not everybody, right?
No.
I mean, you got COs in there that how do you coexist with that though? Because if you know what's going on, the other COs have to know what's going on. So at some point you're seeing it and going, I'm going to turn my head.
Of course, right? Absolutely.
But then you're just as bad. In my opinion, if I see my buddy that I thought was my buddy doing something shady over here and I go, I can't see that. I'm not going to look at that and pretend it didn't happen. I'm just as bad as that guy.
In your opinion?
Yeah.
Because you have to understand that those who aren't a part of the Green Wall, the COs that aren't a part of that, but happen to see something, they still got to get home to their families. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
the stakes are different.
It's totally different. Totally different. Like you can't. I know it's law enforcement, but a police officer and a correctional officer are two totally different worlds.
No.
You know, like you arrest the bad guys, they live with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you could go back to biblical times. The corrupted nature will corrupt someone else's nature. That it's been like that since the beginning of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how long can you sit in an environment that is you're around nothing but corruption before you maybe dabble a little bit? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
And if one of them happened to see it, is it really worth his job, his life, and all that to say something?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I said, man, I've never been there in that position. I'm glad I've never been in that position, but man, it's got to be tough on people. You know what I mean? Like the ones that don't want anything to do with that and that have to know, like, well, I know what's going on, but I can't.
But what can
I
I
can't
say?
do anything. Yeah,
What
it's
can
crazy.
I say? Like, what happens? I get into a car wreck or something on my way home, or you know what I mean? Like, what can I
Yeah.
say?
Well, man, more importantly, you know, you said you found God, right? And that changed everything. So when did that happen? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
So after my grandmother had told me, you know, that was 11/5/2020. My mom is real deep into Narcotics Anonymous, really deep, and so I reached after I went to rehab. I reached out to her, and um, I met this man. His name's Michael. I met this man, and he owns a faith-based sober living,
Okay.
and it's not necessarily Christianity or
Yeah.
Islam or whatever, but you need to be in tune with your spiritual nature.
Yeah.
And so I went to this house just basically to get out of rehab though.
Yeah.
And I started having like these not spiritual awakenings, but these epiphanies started happening for me.
Yeah.
And doors were opening for me, right? And so, you know, I took a job at Tesla, right? And I had to be employed for 1 year before I could be considered to be taken off parole. Tesla was the only place that would hire me. So I'm living at the sober living, and I'm working at Tesla for the year, right?
Yeah.
And then when I get off parole, the day I got off parole, I didn't even go to work the next day. I just was only there to get off parole. And last year, I went to file my taxes, and they said, "Hey, you have these capital gains taxes on your Tesla stock, right? They've been reverse split, and you know what I mean." And so, like, I have like 644 shares of Tesla that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
That's just been split, and so I was like, "That's a God shot." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm already 41. My life has been in prison. I don't have no skill. I don't, you know what I mean? I didn't spend that time going to college and learning a trade, and so I don't have nothing. And so that was like my first God shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I know, like, I'll never be poor. You know what I mean? Like, I know I'm never gonna go hungry. My daughter's never gonna go hungry. So with that, I'm able to now chase after my education. Right? I'll have a master's next year in psychology and you know, the chemical dependency. And then I got my start at the methadone clinic in Hayward.
Wow.
And so I've been, you know, as a counselor, and then so I'm meeting all these people, these heroin addicts, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And from there, I went CDC. You know what I mean. I got a job back in I did my training at Jamestown State Prison. You know what I mean. I have a CDC ID.
Lived your whole life in prison, and then you go back to work there after. That's a huge. That's a huge testament to you know, people's character and how life can change and do, you know, a 180. So that's crazy, man. So from there, what are your plans now? I mean, you're just trying to move up, get your master's degree. You're going to be teaching, or what's?
So I want to take a break from the actual SUD stuff, the substance abuse counseling. I want to take a break from it. I'm going to continue to get my master's. I'm probably going to take a warehouse job, do something like that for a year or so. I was talking with my boy Mitchell earlier, and I was like, I'm going to have to take a break from this. You can only watch somebody willingly kill themselves so many times before it starts taking its toll on me. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's happening every day.
Well, it's just not heroin anymore, right? I mean, you got the fentanyl, you got meth is fentanyl, coke is fentanyl, everything's fentanyl. You know what I mean? So It's crazy. It's a new world of drugs out there, man. When you get that feeling that somebody has helped you, even if you don't deserve it, right? Or even if you feel like you don't deserve, I won't say that you don't deserve it. If you feel like you don't deserve it and somebody's helping you, that makes you understand that there's a better reason to do better. You know, there's a higher reason to do better. And that obviously shows in you, man. I mean, you've changed your life around completely. You got a kid, you got a wife, you're living good, buying a house. I mean, think about that. You were just telling me stories about you fighting and stabbing people in prison. I mean, think about that. I know it sounds bad to say that, but, and had we talked about that and you weren't different, you know, I would tell you that I don't respect any of that stuff, but you went through what you went through to get where you're at right now. And you had to take that hard road to understand that this is the right path. Your family is, I'm assuming now, 100% behind you. They're, you know, the love's back. Everybody, they understand that this is you now. Yeah. This isn't the guy acting until the next opportunity comes up. This is you. So how's that going?
It's good. Good. It's good. It's really good.
That's good, man. That's good. Well, I mean, like I said, man, I'm proud of you. You know, I'm from law enforcement to, you know, to a ex-convict. You know what I mean? I'm proud of you, man. I talk to people all the time on the street, and I try to talk to the kids when I've arrested juveniles, right, for doing crazy stuff, robberies, stolen cars, whatever. I talk to them. I give them an extra long talk. And then 2 years later, I found out that the kid murdered somebody. So it didn't resonate, you know, and it bothers me. It bothers me. It hits me because it doesn't resonate with them like I thought it would. At the time that I'm talking to them, they're like, you know what, officer, you're right. You're right. And I feel like I'm getting somewhere. And then 2 years later, I hear this kid, you know, was involved in a murder. So, and I don't blame so much that talk or, you know, not resonating. It's the environment that they're in. It's so powerful. It sucks you in, right? You wanted that, like you explained to me, you wanted that love from the brotherhood that you had because you felt like you didn't necessarily get what you needed from your own family, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a crazy dynamic, man. Life is insane. And I'm really thankful that you came here to talk to us and tell us all these stories, man. I know you went through a lot, and I don't know how you feel about bringing all those old demons back and talking about it, but I appreciate you doing that so people can hear and hear what it's really like. And if you had anything to say to anybody watching this, you know, like me, even the younger kids and families talking to their younger kids that are dealing with kids that were kind of like you, right, rebellious and going against the grain, what would you say to them?
Just to involve some type of spiritual aspect to especially your kids' life.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they don't listen to it, at least have them aware of it,
mm-hmm.
because in time that'll give them an outlet to turn to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they're gonna find these other outlets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say, like, always create a spiritual nature about yourself. And then apply that to your kids, and eventually that spiritual nature will come alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Good, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming out. I really, really appreciate you coming out, man. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I learned a lot from you, man. And you're welcome to come back anytime. Anytime you want to come back and chat about some other stories, let me know.
Okay. Cool? Yes, sir.
All right, man.
Thank you.